Alright, today we're going to continue our discussion on exponents, but we're going to go into negative exponent practice. And again, you'll see any number of exponents shown here. Negative 2 raised to the negative 3 power, negative 1 over negative 2 to the negative 2, and negative 3 squared, where it's the opposite of 3 squared. And again, negative exponents are these two, the ones that have the negative sign up in the exponent. And again, we're going to go right to practice. This is all based off the concept that x to the negative n equals 1 over x to the n, a concept we've already talked about. So I'm going to work in columns here. So over here you see I have 4 squared and negative 4 squared. Now again, these are not negative exponents. 4 squared is 4 times 4 because the square touches the 4. And negative 4 quantity squared means negative 4 times negative 4. And if you take a look, we can see that both of those result in 16. Now, the second column has both negative exponents. It has 4 raised to the negative 2 power on the top, and the bottom has negative 4 raised to the negative 2 power. Well, the negative 2 exponent in both cases only touches the 4. And in both cases, the first thing you must do is take the exponent across the fraction line and make it positive. So 1 over 4 squared in the top makes 1/16. Well, we have the opposite of that. So it's just the negative sign on the outside and 1 over 4 squared. And again, when the base and the exponent travel together across the fraction line, only the exponent changes sign. So we get negative 1/16. Finally, in the last two examples there, negative 4 squared, negative 4 times 4, negative 16. And then on the bottom example, and I accidentally wrote that incorrectly, I meant to have that as 1 over, we get positive 1/16. Now, the whole example here was to have some practice, so I made some examples here. And this is a good point if you want to pause the video and just try to work it yourself. I am going to quickly run through these by pulling the sheet down. I have another sheet of 5 examples following this. Negative 3 to the negative 1, the opposite of 3 to the negative 1, turns into negative 1 over 3 to the 1, or negative 1/3. The second one, 2 to the negative 2, becomes 1 over 2 squared, or positive 1/4. The opposite of the quantity, negative 3 to the negative 3 power. So it becomes the opposite of 1 over negative 3 to the 3, where the only thing changing signs so far is the exponent. You can't go negative, negative to positive. You have to handle exponents first. So I do that negative 3 times in the bottom. And at this point, you'll see that there are 4 negatives, and that becomes positive 1/27. Finally, in the last example, you'll see that I have negative of the quantity negative 4 raised to the negative 2. I take negative 4 to the negative to the 2 to the bottom, changing the sign of just the exponent. That means to do that twice, so I write it twice. Now I have 3 negatives, so I end up with a negative 1/16. Again, I have 5 more examples here. Good chance to pause and try them, or watch me go through the steps and pause them as I go. The opposite of 1 over 3 squared, well, that just changes into the opposite of 1 over 3 times 3, or negative 1/9. You do not move it. There is no negative exponent. But in the next one, it's positive 1 over negative 2 raised to the negative 3. That negative with the 2 can simply pop out. It's not attached. And it becomes the negative 1 over 2 negative 3. So we'll move 2 to the negative 3 to the top, changing the sign of just the exponent. That negative in front is that negative there. And we end up with, as we work our way to the right, negative 8. On the next problem, you can't go negative, negative to positive. It's not a negative exponent, nothing to move. And I get negative times negative 2 times negative 2, which is negative 4, odd number of negative signs. Now I have negative 2 to the negative 2. The negative stays up front. Negative 2 goes to the bottom, changing the power of the exponent only. And again, we end up with 3 negatives here in this step, which leads us to negative 1/4. Finally, in the last step, we have negative of 2 to the negative 2. So as we proceed, I have negative 1 over 2 squared. It's negative 1/4. Again, this is meant to be a review of negative exponents. Just some practice. It's really not meant to teach you negative exponents. If you need to see that, you need to go back to the other example videos.